Good evening and hello everyone, it's Siona from Honouring ME Crochet and the Hooked on Crochet Club, and welcome to the Crochet Learning Corner. We're at lesson 2 of the beginners course. So tonight we're going to be covering the 3 basic stitches that form the foundations for many other stitches that we have. So I'll just wait a little bit to allow people to come on. If you are watching and ready, you might want to have a chain ready to go. That's what we practiced last night, so I hope that you're now feeling a bit more comfortable with the chain and how to hold your hook and your yarn, because you're going to need to feel comfortable so that you don't feel like you've got a million fingers tonight. Okay, so I'll just wait a little bit longer. But in front of me you can see the stitch cards. I've quickly written those up. So I am going to use US terms. I mentioned that in lesson 1. I will let you know what the UK terms are so that if you see them, you're aware of them. And any patterns that I provide will have both in them, because I like everyone to be able to use my patterns as well. But what you'll find is there is overlap with some of the names, which is why it gets confusing, and if they don't state up front what terms they're using, you can get confused because it's a totally different stitch. So the first stitch we're going to make is the single crochet, and then I'll show you the half double crochet, and then I'll show you double crochet. So in UK terms that will be double crochet, this will be half treble, and this one will be treble, but I'm going to use the US terms. Alright, so if you have your chain in front of you, you might want to watch to start with and practice afterwards, though you can go along as well. At least watch the first turn. Now if you look at your chain, you're going to see that you've got, when you turn it one way, you're going to have V's. I'll hold it a bit closer. So you can see V's on one side, and then you can see little bumps on the other side. Now the V's is what the top of a stitch will look like when you're working an actual stitch. The bumps, this is the only time you're going to see those pretty much. I prefer to work into a bump when I do my first row. So this is, the chain becomes your foundation row. The reason I prefer to work in the bump is that you then end up with this as your edge, which makes it a lot neater. And it is how I was taught. Now, the downside to that is it is a little harder to work into the bump. So when you're first starting out, you may just want to work into one of these loops or on the side instead. Entirely up to you. If you're adding a border, it really doesn't matter where you work into. What does matter is that when you're working into your foundation chain, that you work into the same spot all the time. So if you're going to work into your bumps, work into the bump for every single stitch. If you're going to work into a loop on the top, then work into that same top loop for all of them. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a twisted looking chain. Okay, so the single crochet is the very first stitch we're going to learn because it is the simplest. Now, I won't go into it in too much detail, but because we'll cover it more tomorrow when we work in rows. But you're not going to work into the first chain from your hook. So if you have a look, you've got your hook there, and then that bump is going to be the first chain. Or if you're looking at that side, you've got the V is the first chain. So we don't work into that one because we like to create some height. Now if you are, this won't become anything. It's just a practice piece, so it really doesn't matter if you work into your second, third or fourth chain, whichever is comfortable for you. I'm going to work into the second chain from my hook. Now for a single crochet, what you're going to do is you're going to insert your hook, you're then going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. So I'll show you quickly now. Now it will be, as I mentioned, will be a little difficult, especially if you've got a tight chain. It can be difficult to work into that loop, and you want to make sure you don't skip any, because we're not skipping any for this. I'll just show you a couple kind of quickly so you get a feel for what it should look like. Alright, so essentially what you're going to do, you got that little bump there, you're going to insert your hook, so that it's in there. You're going to yarn over and you're going to pull that yarn through that loop, and then you're going to have 2 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through both of those. And you can see we're starting to see little stitches. These ones are the hardest to see because they are so short, but I do have 2. So if we're counting them, we can count the V's at the top, but we won't worry about counting or any of that tonight. Today we're just going to practice the stitches and putting them wherever we can go. Okay, so to repeat for the single crochet, you're going to insert into that bump. Okay, then you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull that yarn through that loop so that you've got 2 on the hook. Then you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through it again. Okay, and you just keep doing that. So insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And you can just say that to yourself as you do it as well. And a lot of these stitches have some of the same techniques in them as well. So these are just your basic ones. Okay. That's all we do for the single crochet, which if you're familiar with crochet terms, that'll be a double crochet in UK terms. All right, so I'm going to unravel that. So you want to make sure you're comfortable with that before you go on to the next stitch, because the next stitch is going to have a little bit more to it. All right, so I'm just going to go back to the start of my chain. Now again with so this one we're going to do is the half double crochet. This one's actually my favorite stitch. All right, so similar, I always work from the second one from the hook, so I would miss that first bump. And for this, the only difference with this, or there's a couple of differences, but the main difference, you're going to yarn over first, and then you're going to insert your hook. Okay, then you're going to yarn over again, and you're going to pull up just through that first loop, which is your chain, and you're going to pull it up, and you're going to have 3 loops on your hook. Okay, and then you're going to yarn over again, and you're going to pull through all 3. Now it might get a little trickier pulling through this one, so when you're pulling it through for all stitches, aim to have your hook facing down because it's easier to pull it down, especially if you're holding like a pencil grip. Okay, so for half double crochet we yarn over, insert into that bump, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then you've got 3 on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, so yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up, and when you pull it up, you're only going through that first one, so you end up with 3, yarn over and pull through, and you see it gets a little tricky sometimes. Now when you're working your stitches, you want to try, and this is where you feel like you've got 100 fingers. So you want to only be moving your hook. As with your chain, your hand is the one that's being the stabilizer. So you can use your thumb like I am to help position where the chain is so that you can I work in against that. It adds a little bit of resistance. Okay, and then I also hold near the base of the hook just to keep the stitches in place there together. And I do that with all my stitches. It just helps keep it more consistent. Okay, so just repeating for that. So that's the half double crochet. So you yarn over, insert into that bump, yarn over, pull it up. So you got 3, then yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, so tonight I encourage you just to work into the chains when you're practicing. If you can master it getting into the chain, then you can master doing the stitches. Tomorrow we'll work more into doing rows so you can see what happens when you're working into an actual stitch. But the other thing you can see with these ones is they are a little bit taller and they're a little bit easier to actually see. So if I get a bit closer so we can count those. So when you're counting, we count the little V's, so you'll start to see these, they won't just look like mush to you after a while. And then you can see that's one post there, so that's one stitch. There's another, there's another. Okay, so that one's the half double crochet, and as I said, that one's my favorite. All right, so I'm going to start again. So this one is going to be the double crochet, which in UK terms is a treble. All right, so very similar to the half double crochet in that it starts the same. So if we look, we've got different symbols. The symbols, I tried to make them make sense as to explain how they picture guide, but I can't make it work properly in my head. But anyway, so for a double crochet, you want to work into at least the second one from the hook. So you're going to yarn over, you're going to insert your hook like you did the half double crochet, yarn over, and you're going to pull up that one, and again you're going to have the 3 loops on your hook. This time the difference is you're going to yarn over and you're only going to pull through the first 2. So you've got to watch where your hook is and just sneak it out between that. So you've got, then you're left with 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those last 2. So that just makes it that little bit taller than the half double crochet. So again, we're going to yarn over, insert into the bump, yarn over, pull up a loop, and you've got 3 on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through 2. And you can see just by holding it as there, it helps make it easier to control the stitches so you can control your hook. If you're not holding there, then you end up things going all over the place. But that all comes with practice. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you've got 3, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and then that one ends up a little bit taller than the half double crochet that we were doing. All right, so that is essentially the stitches we've got. So you practice your chain and then practice each of those stitches. So I would master the single crochet before you go on to the half double, and then master the half double before you go on to the double, because each one's got that little bit more to it. So it's just like adding an extra step. Okay, so I'll just show you each one once more so you can see the difference. Okay, so that's a whole bunch of double crochet. So your single crochet, just to repeat, is you insert your hook, doesn't want to do it now, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through both. Okay, then your half double crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through all 3. You can see it got that little bit taller. And then your double crochet, is yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you got 3, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so you can see they kind of go a little bit taller each one. So that's all the stitches tonight. So practice, practice, practice. Do the same as I've done. Just work into the chain for now, because there's other things you've got to do when you're working in rows. Love to see your pictures. It was great to see the chains that we saw last night. So I'll set up a post as well where you can show your stitches. Tomorrow night we'll work in rows. So hopefully you will be comfortable with those stitches, and I can show you and explain each of those. All right, so that was lesson 2, another quick, easy one. So go away and practice those stitches. And if you've got your beginner's guide, I did put it in the group. You should have it on an email as well for when you signed up, but there is another copy in the group. All right, any questions? If you get stuck, don't stress, don't strangle your hook, just relax like you did with your chain, and just trust your hook to do the work. It might get frustrating trying to work into those chains, That's okay. Even me with practice, sometimes it's more difficult than others. Just go back to the basics, practice your chain, then build on the single crochet, then the half double, and then the double, and you will get there, I promise. All right, and we'll be back same time tomorrow for working in rows. We'll use those stitches. All right, good night.